Is there a future for big agencies in China? Now this is thoughtful. Hello, I'm Trevor Lai in Shanghai. Is there a future for big agencies in China? We've asked this question twice before on Thoughtful. In 2013, David Wolf, Managing Director of the Global China Practice at Allison & Partners, argued that the merger of agency networks into big holding companies does not work well if one of two things is happening. A market is experiencing very high growth and has to build an organization that is designed for growth, or there's a great deal of change taking place in the industry that requires an agency to change rapidly. Here in China, the industry operates in a perfect storm where both are happening at the same time. Growth is high and change is rapid. In a follow-up episode, Aaron Lau, the CEO for Greater China at Cheil Worldwide, countered that the issue wasn't the size of the agency or holding company, but whether the organization is spending money on innovation. He argued that the key issue is whether agencies are investing in proprietary systems and platforms that allow them to compete against either an independent specialist agency or a multinational network. In the third episode to tackle this question, we're talking today with Kitty Lun, Chairman and CEO of Lowe China, part of Interpublic Group, to hear her views on whether big agencies have a long-term future in China and how they should adapt to this market to succeed. Kitty, welcome back to our studio.
Okay.
So you've seen both the episodes I just referred to, and obviously you've had a great deal of experience in Greater China running agencies. So what do you think? Do big agencies still have a future in China?
Oh, that's a very, very big question. Of course, big agency, small agency, any kind of agency. I mean, if you're good, you will have a future anyway, anywhere. I mean, not just in China, everywhere in the world.
But at the same time, there's a lot of change going on in this marketplace. What are some of the new challenges that agencies are facing that they didn't have to face maybe a few years ago?
A lot of challenges, yes. In fact, it's not just now. I mean, you know, throughout the history of advertising agencies, services, there have been challenges, you know, at different eras. So right now, I think the challenge is from the client side. It's swinging from in the past, which was like very conservative, and they only believe in a certain kind of model of advertising, and then they stuck with it for like decades. And now they swung the other way, probably too much. Anything that is new, different, newer is better. And then the clients are, you know, actually very scattered in terms of, you know, oh, this is new, I want to get onto it, I want to get into user-generated content, social media. And then suddenly people are saying that, I mean, in fact, I hear a lot of people saying that the traditional advertising model is dead. Well, thankfully, it hasn't. In fact, it is going through an evolution process, survival of the fittest, of course. I mean, if you are good, and if you are competitive, then you will survive. I think the biggest issue right now is facing us right now is the competition in terms of pricing. There is so much cutthroat competition that actually sometimes creative is given for free. When it is free, basically you don't have the right people working on it, you know, qualified people. The quality actually begins to deteriorate. We are seeing that. And then for the smaller agency and the non-traditional agencies, especially digital, social media, and so on, and there was a general attack on major multinational advertising agency model, and they're saying they are declaring us dead so that they will have a future. But the problem is right now, I mean, both exist. And they are facing a lot of competition in price competition. We are facing competition in terms of clients not really knowing what to do. So what's happening right now is the multinational agencies who are focused on brands, I mean, who used to be focused on brands and high quality creative, are sort of diversifying into the area that are not familiar territory. And then they are facing competition with, you know, all the smaller players. But I think what we need to do is to really go back to our roots and look at brand building and come up with, high quality strategy, consumer insights, understanding the market, and come up with the creative content, the idea that drives the business. And then welcome all the other smaller agencies and working together. I mean, any given day, any of my clients, they usually have an average of 7 advertising agency relationships at the same time. So there is actually a big room for us to grow into the lead agency position, meaning we control the strategy, we are the brand custodian, we create the main idea, and then we curate with all the other smaller agencies. Okay, if social media is popular nowadays and consumers are consuming it, fine, we work with social media agency. They cannot replace us, we cannot replace them. And that is the sort of ecology that I'm seeing evolving into.
So that's very interesting. You're arguing a school of thought, which is very different than some of the others that we've heard from agencies on our show, where they're saying, we're trying to innovate, we're trying to diversify our skill sets so that they're up to digital or they're up on social media. And really what you're saying is now you're getting into waters that you're not familiar with, having to compete on price in a way that you're not able to, given your infrastructure. So you're arguing, in fact, you should entrench yourself perhaps a bit more in the traditional model and specialize, and then allow the other smaller agencies to specialize in their areas of expertise.
I think the answer is yes and no. Yes, correct. I mean, don't tread into unknown waters, and especially the landscape is changing every day. So how are you going to catch up with all those innovation that is here today, gone tomorrow, right? But the answer no is no. Don't get stuck in the old model. We have to know. We have to understand. We have to keep track. We have to at the tip of the trend to know everything. It's a lot more demanding to our executives that you have to know what's happening out there, and don't give answers to client with 3-year-old ideas, information. And what is happening right now, we have to know. Therefore, we can play the curator position rather than the doer. I mean, there are a lot of people who are doing it, who are very, very good at doing it, and a lot of very young people. So they need our coaching, and they need to work with someone like us together we can serve our clients.
Let's take a break. Then we'll be back to hear more from Low China's Kitty Lun.
I love the fact that Thoughtful China hits issues that are relevant and current. Gives us a platform to discuss the issues that are relevant to brands, marketers, as well as the agencies that are supporting them.
Welcome back. Well, it's interesting you talked about competition. 10 years ago when I was in agency, I noticed that Western agencies and the big 4As had a lot of prestige associated with them. And in the past decade, obviously local agencies have gotten a lot stronger. They have put a lot of downward pricing pressure on a lot of the same clients that you perhaps were used to just retaining. So can you talk about how you see local agencies now? How do they fit into the ecosystem?
I think I really like that question. But I think there is really no foreign agencies and local agencies. I mean, the division is actually getting so blurred. I think there are good agencies and bad agencies. So competition comes from every side, but I think the skill sets, the expertise, the process, the tools, and all that. I think there's still a lot to learn from the multinationals, and the locals are learning fast. I think you mentioned one phenomenon, which is local agencies coming up. It's because there is a huge pool of local talents. I mean, China advertising has started and developed in 30 years. And so imagine, a 20-year-old at that time is already, quite mature nowadays. So you accumulate a lot of experience among a big group of people. And frankly, it is necessary. China is a big market. You need a lot of people doing a lot of things to market these lots and lots of products to lots and lots of people. So China is really, we're talking about volume. And with all these good people being trained, and they spin off, they come up with their advertising agencies. The old local agencies, grow and become really big. I mean, they are bigger, or as big as and bigger than some of the multinationals, and we are all competing in a very democratic situation. So that's good. I think what's not good is if it is not democratic. I mean, we're still seeing pitches that the clients are using multinational agencies as straw dogs and so on. I mean, it's still happening. So it's very competitive out there, and we will be dead if we are behind.
But I want to touch on this a little bit because it's been brought up on the show. The whole concept of pitching, which is something that has for decades, impacted the industry across all nations, not just China. But in China, perhaps the effect is magnified because you have a lot more agencies with talent that have local market knowledge. At the same time, I don't see agencies changing their model in the sense that they still participate in the pitches. They feel like almost even more so in China, it's necessary in order to win some of these clients. So how do you stop that paradox?
Well, I think one person or just a few agencies cannot stop it. I mean, it is happening, and it's a big wave. So either you turn your back against it, which will be actually quite foolish in a competitive and in a commercial situation. But I think the situation has improved. I mean, I've been in China for 14 years now, and I actually see an improvement in that aspect. First of all, the number of years that clients stay with agencies actually is improving. I mean, clients stay with agency for longer because they know that it will take some time for a new agency to learn their strategy, their products, their marketing before they can be productive. And then if you start pitching as soon as they accumulated the knowledge, I think it is rather stupid, right? So I see an improvement already in that aspect. And I also see an improvement in the pitch process, good and bad. Improvement meaning briefs are clearer. And and I've gone through like some really major pitching, which you learned so much from the pitch. I think, I was quite shocked at that time for myself that, I actually learned so much from one pitch that you will see that, client put in a lot of work and they're treating the process very seriously. And when it comes to the result, I think it is a lot more exciting and enlightening because the clients are saying to us that, we want you because we want your strategy. We know that you understand the local culture. We like your idea, which can dictate the content, the content creation. And we like your idea of coordinating with other agencies so that you can work seamlessly with everybody else. Now, clients are also facing a lot of problems. I mean, there are so many options out there, and they want to, take advantage of everything. But the amount of time for coordination, the knowledge base, having a clear mind to make sure that everything, fall into a line, all those are very demanding for clients. If we can help clients to do that, then it's a win-win situation for everybody, for the client, for us, and for all the partners that we work with.
Well, I think you've brought up a good point, which is there is a balance to be had. The pitching process is also to screen and ensure that the agency is actually committed to understanding the client's needs rather than just putting on a show. Yes. And so I think that deeper understanding is demonstrated sometimes through that process. Now it's interesting you talked a lot about curation because Richard Lee, CMO at Pepsi, was on our show at the end of last year, and obviously this was something he was very passionate about and he's brought up numerous times. And he really, basically told all agencies that they have to step their game up in terms of understanding the challenges, not just from the strategy standpoint, but from a creative perspective. Right. And touching on UGC, which you mentioned earlier as well. And then, of course, very soon after that, they made the announcement that they were bypassing Omnicom for smaller agencies. So does something like this worry you, that even large multinational brands are really looking at a newer model and a newer way of working with their agencies? Or do you think that's a positive because, as you've mentioned, you actually agree in some ways with this new mentality?
Right. I think it is, of course, worrying. I mean, competition is always worrying, but it is not new. In the 1990s, Coca-Cola has already started using small agency. At that time, they used CAA to create their thematic campaigns for them. So, it's actually nothing new. So, I mean, from the client's perspective, I mean, they have already evolved a lot. It's meritocracy. Whoever can come up with the best idea will work with me, right? And at the right price and the right timing and so on and so forth, right? So this is nothing new. Therefore, we have to be always, on the alert that there are, I mean, not just small agencies, there are all kinds of, people, not just agencies. I mean, everything, the client's cousin who can write and who can draw will threaten what we are doing every day. So what I'm saying is, competition comes from everywhere, every day. It's not just now, it is not just new. So we have to be, very alert all the time to make sure that we provide the best services, having the best understand the brand building issues for the long run for the clients, be the brand custodian, be able to work with the client be able to come up with the high quality idea, deliver of great creative content, and work with all the other partners that we are dealing with every day.
So, Kitty, if you had to sum up the reason that global agency networks in China have a future in one line, what would that be?
Okay, focus on what you do best. Don't be a jack of all trades, and leverage your experience and be a curator. Evolve, otherwise you will die.
Thank you very much for being on Thoughtful China.
Thank you.
That wraps it up for today. Be sure to subscribe to us on Youku, Tudo, and YouTube. You can also follow us on Weibo, WeChat, and Twitter, and join our LinkedIn group. We'll see you again.